wife Denise, my daughter Anna, so we live here. Everybody else doesn't. We're so grateful to have you with us. It's a view that is just, it's literally beautiful in our sight. We love to see this house filled with people worshiping God. And today we're going to be talking about being transformed by the cross. Being transformed and having a view, a different view from what you have. Myself, I'm an illustrator. Santasha's an illustrator. Super talented. Leo's an illustrator. We've got people on the AV team. Donna.
Come on, Donna.
She helps transform our view. Right. And actually now with technology, you transform other people's view. You put something on Instagram or some of those other sites, and people see it and they have a different view. Wow. They see things differently. I still remember when they were talking about social media like it was going to change the world and everybody had to get on top of it. This was years before it got popular. Wow. And I'm just like, guys, come on, it's just pictures. It's just stuff that you're going to look at on your phone. It's not going to change anybody's life. That's really what I was thinking. And for the most part, I haven't seen anything on anybody's Instagram, on anybody's Facebook that said, I need to appreciate Jesus. I need to devote my life to Jesus. So it has not transformed your view. Wow. Come on, Joe. It hasn't. Wow. It hasn't. I still remember my daughter when she was little. She was. I love to tell this story, but she was eating food, and so her view was, well, she's a little kid. She's just gonna eat her food. That's her view. It's her food, and she's eating it, and she has kind of like she's like sitting cross-legged in her little high chair, and the food falls off of her spoon, and it falls right onto the bottom of her foot. And she just grabs it and eats it. There you go. And I said, new house rule, no eating food off your foot. But it's a view I never would have imagined. Never would have even thought to have to make a rule. Right. Wow. But Jesus wants us to have a very clear view. Come on, bro. A very clear view. So let's turn over to Romans chapter 12. Woo. And see what this view is that he wants us to have. Romans 12, 1 and 2. Transformed by the cross.
I like it.
Romans 12, 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Wow. The plan, God's plan, is not for us to be an army of social media addicted people. That's not the plan. God's plan is for us to be living sacrifices. Wow. That's the plan. This plan hasn't changed in thousands of years. Have you gotten on board with the plan yet? For me, it took me a long time to get on board with the plan. It wasn't until 30 years of life that I said, you know what? Wow, I am so selfish, and the world doesn't have the answers that I thought it had. I was 30 years old. What am I going to do? What am I going to teach my oldest daughter, who was 7 at the time? And I realized that the legit people who were following Jesus, they had the answers. They were joyful. And the more I got to know them, I realized it's because they had been transformed by the cross. And they started living as living sacrifices for Jesus. And I'm so grateful that they showed me scriptures like this, that I need to be transformed. I need to renew my mind. I can't just think the old ways of, okay, gotta crank my career, gotta gather as much for myself, and just reward this small circle of people around me. But that's pretty much how I was raised.
Yeah.
And it's so lonely. It's so empty. But that's what the world teaches. It's just your little circle, and you don't really go outside that. You wouldn't really love a stranger.
Right.
Wouldn't even think of it. I still remember, to my shame, just cursing out an old lady that got in front of me when I was trying to blow a stoplight. And I almost ran her over. And I was yelling at her. Just very selfish, don't get in my way kind of attitude. Career focused, foolish. I was transformed by evil.
Wow.
Come
I
on,
wasn't
bro.
transformed by the cross. I was made into what the world had become. Just a selfish place, and you just reward your little crew of peeps, and that's it. If that. But the world needs to be transformed by Jesus.
Amen.
Come on, Joe.
Sadly, I was not a living sacrifice. I was a living fool.
Wow.
I was an art fool, a creative fool. I'll draw anything for money. And there's some stuff I wish I had to draw. It's shameful to even mention some of the things that I used to draw and think about. But now, because people sat me down and didn't just bring me to a church service, but sat me down in individual Bible studies, I started to get a different view. Until I sat down in these studies, I didn't realize there was another view. I just thought that's all there is. But the brothers who studied the Bible with me, they showed me in view of God's mercy. What does mercy mean? Compassion. They showed me the compassion that Jesus had. And they showed me a real hero, Jesus. That actually his mercy, his compassion, rescues people not just from a burning building, like a superheroes, but rescues eternally.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I want that. I want to follow that guy. Mercy is meant to change us. Are you changed by God's mercy? I didn't become changed until I was deeply immersed in what this was all about. I can remember going to my first men's midweek, and it was just a lot of men singing boldly to God.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the words, but as soon as I walked in, I was so selfish and so career focused. And this was the exact opposite of my life. I walked into all these brothers singing, unified. And I had never seen anything like it. And I knew that this is what I wanted, and this is what everybody dreams of. To be part of something powerful, special, and eternal.
Amen.
So I got a view of God's mercy. And I am so grateful that I got immersed in it.
Come on.
Surrounded by it. I became part of it. You know, you're not going to be able to say that you're immersed in Jesus until you become fully committed to Him, His Word, and His kingdom.
Come on, bro.
His church. We must be immersed in this. It's got to be who we are. Then we'll have a good view, a clear view. Because, you know, in your little Instagram, the thing is, you pull it out, you're scrolling through maybe. Actually, I don't even have it on my phone anymore. I got rid of it. But you're scrolling through, I remember. You're scrolling through, and it's a time waster for the most part. And then when you put it away, like it's not like you're deeply moved. Oh wow, my life has changed.
Right.
I'm immersed in Instagram. No. But how much time are you spending on this stuff?
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Could you possibly be selfish because of all the time? The world wants to turn you into even more selfish than you are.
Wow.
That's what it showed me, and I loved it,
Come on, Joe.
my flesh. But Jesus wants to turn you into a living sacrifice. So let's get some deep views of Jesus in some Bible studies. We're going to see in depth here in Isaiah 53. We're going to read the whole chapter and see the view of the cross.
Come on, Joe.
Isaiah 53 has been called the mother lode of messianic prophecy. In other words, it's got the most concentrated predictions about Jesus before he came. This Isaiah 53 was written just about 800 years before Jesus started his physical ministry. So Isaiah, what we're going to read right now is written about 800 years prior to Jesus starting his physical ministry in Judea. And what you're going to find is it talks all about Jesus and only Jesus. It's all about him. And if we live this out, we'll realize how unselfish Jesus is.
Wow.
How selfish we are.
Wow.
And that's what I realized. And I'm like, oh man, I don't give any money to plant churches. I don't share my faith. I'm not trying to help people become Christians. I show up whenever I want. Sometimes I'm late. I don't care. I wasn't immersed in anything. I was loyal only to myself, and half the time not even that. But for Jesus to complete what we're going to read about, he's got to be immersed in this. Like he's got to be all in to love us. So let's read it. Isaiah 53, verse 1. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, like a root out of dry ground. Now let's talk about Jesus. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Like one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows. Yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. Another word for transgression is rebellion. Sin. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him. And by his wounds, we are healed. We, like all sheep, have gone astray. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Now, this is saying, this is calling it out. We have gone our own way. We've turned to our own way. And if you're not living like Jesus, that's where you're at right now. You've gone your own way. And so Jesus has to stand in the gap for you and say, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take the punishment for your sin because I love you.
Wow.
That's what he's saying. It's not what he did is not, well, once you get committed, then I'll get on the cross.
Wow.
Like it was while we were still sinners.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was praying this morning. I remember one sin I committed. I'm just like, God, I have no right to ask you for anything. Like I should be dead. Just so selfish. Just impure. Just not focused like Jesus on helping people. And then you see Jesus doing this. Not just my sin, but everybody's.
Yeah.
And he did it. He really did. Verse 7. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter. And as a sheep before her shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment, he was taken away. And who can speak of his descendants? For he was cut off from the land of living. For the transgression of my people he was stricken. Verse 9. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. Though he had done no violence, nor was there any deceit in his mouth. That's actually totally true. This is a complete prophecy. Grave with the wicked, he was crucified with 2 thieves, one on his left, and he was also with the rich in his death, assigned a grave, because he was buried in a rich man's tomb. John explains all that. You can read it. Verse 10. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush you. No. It was the Lord's will to crush him. Like that's supposed to be us.
Wow.
And when we get it, we can start to be transformed. When we don't get it, we're not going to be thinking about Jesus. We're going to be having all this deliberate stuff we know is not right. And we're going to be in all this major sin, and we're just going to pretend, we just can't control it. That's just who we are. That's just my nature. Yeah, until you get transformed by the cross, until you take this seriously. This really happened. Like it's in every Bible.
Right.
And this is so y'all know the people who are Jewish, it's in their religious book too.
Yeah.
It's in everywhere. But most people still don't follow Jesus. Because they don't want to be living sacrifices. They're like, well, Jesus suffered and somehow I'm going to kind of be okay, possibly, maybe. And I'll figure it out later.
Wow.
When I have more time.
Wow.
When's that going to be? Is anybody growing up and getting more time? Let's keep reading. Starting in verse 10. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life a guilt offering, he will see his offspring and prolong his days.
Wow.
Now that's talking about you. There's Jesus didn't rise from the cross and then get married and have more kids. He died for a sin, rose from the dead, commanded his disciples to make disciples, who made disciples, who made disciples, who eventually got to us, made us into disciples. We're the offspring.
Come on.
This is a prediction of you. You're in the Bible.
Wow.
What's your response?
Come on, bro.
And
Well,
Joe?
it's too big a responsibility. It's not for me. You do it. You're cheapening this.
Wow.
This is so heroic. Be part of it.
Right.
I want you to be part of this.
Come on.
Give to the missions that we're doing.
Yeah.
What other cause can change somebody's eternity?
Wow. Come on, bro.
Yeah, it's hard. Tell it to Jesus on the cross.
Come on, bro.
I don't know if you can make 300 this week. I don't know. If your life depended on it, You'd be
It is.
working every day to do
Right,
it.
it is.
Yeah.
Right there, bro.
And if you're a disciple, you're already saved. Do you want this for other people? How badly? I had a buddy, we were studying the Bible, but he moved to St. Petersburg. And I tried to get him connected with the disciples in Russia. But we do not have a church yet in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
We have one in Kiev, we have one in Moscow. They're planning one this summer.
Yep.
You better believe I'm anxious to get missions going over there
Come on.
to make sure we can refer people like this all around the world.
Come on, Joe.
This missions matters
Yeah.
to somebody who has a view transformed by the cross.
Wow.
We're going to be all over this because we're transformed by the cross. Verse 11. After the suffering of his soul, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. Whoa.
Wow.
Jesus was numbered as a rebellious sinner, even though he never sinned.
Wow.
It's because of what he took on from us.
Yep.
What's your response to this?
Wow.
Is it important to you to stop that sin that you know has been dogging you? Because you don't want to get the view of the cross that God is showing you.
Come on, Joe.
Here it is.
Yeah.
He bore the sin of many, it says. You know, verse 11, this is really intense. If you read your Bible, if you ever see brackets, you know what that means? It actually doesn't mean emphasize it. It means the translators know those words aren't really there. But they're inserted when you see brackets. Look at verse 11. Most of you have brackets and it says of life in there. They're just trying to make it flow better as English translator, but there's no of life actually there. That's why they put the brackets there, to make it flow better. So what this really reads is, so verse 11, after the suffering of his soul, he will see the light and be satisfied. In other words, Jesus was put in darkness. He didn't see the light when he was on the cross.
Right.
Because all our sin came on him, and it was overwhelming. It's like, Father, why have you forsaken me?
Whoa.
I had a part in that. My sin was part of that package that went into him as a vessel, and so does yours. You put Jesus in darkness, the King of Kings. If it matters, you will be different. You will be transformed by the cross. You really will. You'll spend time with God every morning praying and reading his word and getting other people into Bible studies. You'll ask people you know and people you don't know, hey, here's what I'm learning about Jesus. Can we have a meeting? Let's talk about Jesus. I want to show you what I'm learning. This is life-changing. Let me tell you about what he's done for me. And then you open up the scriptures and you talk about Jesus and your life. Like I said earlier, you'll be giving to missions. What can I give? What can I do differently? Oh yeah, I could faithfully pray and ask people for money. I could maybe skip a meal a day. I could afford to lose a couple pounds right here. Whatever it takes. You're a living. You signed up. If you're a Christian, you signed up to be a living sacrifice. It's not like, you became a Christian and then they slipped in Romans 12. Oh, living sacrifice. Gotcha. It's part of the plan. It's always been part of the plan. So we just gotta love it. Because Jesus is the one who really took the big hit here to death. And then he rose and called us to sin. Let's go over to 2 Corinthians 5,
Come on, bro.
verse 11. We're going to read 2 Corinthians 5, verse 11, and also verse 14. 2 Corinthians 5, verse 11 and 14. And just the first part of verse 11. It says, since then we know what it is to fear the Lord, we try to persuade men. In other words, hey, I fear God because I offended him in my life when I was rebelling against him. And I fear going back to that place where I'm rebelling against God. I fear not being with God. The fear of God is gaining wisdom. Have a healthy fear of God. When you understand the magnitude of what happened at the cross, and you realize the brutalness of it that we're responsible for, it's like, okay, I do have the time. I can make the time to have another Bible study with somebody. I can make the time to go out a little extra early and ask people to help out with missions, to give to our fundraising efforts that help people around the world. I can do this.
Right.
I have the time. I do. Jesus took the time. He didn't have to. He left paradise for this. He left paradise to become a guilt offering for you. Even though you're the guilty one. I'm the guilty one. And he says, no, I'll take it. I'll become the guilt offering for you. Because of this, we need to persuade people. That's what it says. Since we know it's the fear of the Lord, basically that word try saying that it's actually, in Greek it's we persuade. We persuade people. No, don't, not just one study. I need you to do all the studies. Not just one night a week. I need you to set aside multiple times this week. Because this is going to change your life. Come on. This has changed my life. And
Come on.
you need this.
Amen.
I know that many of you have jobs that are persuasive jobs.
Yeah.
Like you've got to convince people of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in sales or leadership. You've got to persuade people. You persuade people for money.
Amen.
You try to persuade if you're in school still, please, can I just give me the B? Right? Try to persuade when you want that raise.
Yes.
Hey, I cranked my numbers. I deserve this raise.
Yeah.
You persuade about stuff that you believe in. Do you believe this? If you do,
Come on.
you will persuade people
Right. There it is, bro.
to give to our missions effort. You will give to our missions effort. You will persuade people to get in Bible studies.
Yep.
And you'll show them this. Because you know the view of the cross. Your view of the cross has been transformed. It's been transformed. When I was a teenager, my a relative got me a cross ring. I don't know if it's an Italian thing, but everybody back then was getting cross rings. It's a ring, but it's got a cross on it. I don't know if they have that here. They're called cross rings. And I felt so special. I had this cross ring. That was my view of the cross. I got a cool gold cross ring. I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened. It's my wedding ring. That was my only view of the cross. It's my cross ring. It's gold. I'm cool. It's about Jesus something. Even I have no idea what that's all about. And now I'm going to be selfish and do my own thing. That's not going to cut it. Our view of the cross has got to be, we're going to persuade people. This is not just a Big Mac. It's a lifestyle. Verse 14. Why are we so persuasive? It's Christ's love. It says, verse 14, for Christ's love compels us. Because we're convinced that one died for all. And therefore, now, to not get on a physical cross and do the same thing, because he was the perfect sacrifice as a guilt offering, but now be alive, sacrificing your time that could advance self and instead advance God's purposes, advance other people. And when you do this, you'll be persuading people about studies and missions. You'll be compelled to help people spend time with God. You'll be spending time with God. You'll be raising your missions. You'll be making it early. In fact, my wife and I, even though I've had some challenging business things happen lately, on faith, my wife and I, we decided to turn in all of our missions that's due in April. We turned it all in this morning.
Come on.
I'm saying this not to boast
Right.
about how great we are, because that's not what I think. But it's because I'm compelled and I take this stuff seriously. Come
Come on.
I don't want to be part of a club. I didn't join a club.
Come on.
Whoa.
Come on.
In fact, I was part of a religious group before and they turned into a club. I called them out on it. They didn't change. We left. And we found people who were totally committed.
Wow.
We found them here in the church. Because the cross must transform. If it doesn't transform, you're the same as your old self.
Yeah.
Just living for your kind of little mini purpose. But Jesus' purpose is eternal. So let's all be transformed by the cross as we take now the communion and remember that what happened there with Jesus as he spilled his blood, as his flesh was ripped up, the nails hanging there. Let's remember that he did it to go through darkness, death, being a guilt offering for our sin, and then rising from the dead and giving us hope and a future where we could be the missionaries who take this to the ends of the earth. Let's
Come on.
Wow. Father, thanks God for loving us. And God, I just do not even begin to know all the nuances of the pain and the gross suffering you went through for us. But what I do know is plenty. It's plenty to commit.
Yep.
It's plenty to get me to say yes every day. Because you are just amazing.
Yeah.
So grateful for your great sacrifice. God, there's people around the world and they're trying to make creative stuff and get people's attention with grand epic type things, but it's all fake. It's all Netflix and Star Wars, and it's entertaining, but it doesn't save.
Come on.
Nothing against that stuff, but God, you save.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you save. And let us be in a world where we can enjoy these little entertainments and things like this, God. But what you did for us, God, brings healing. I'm so grateful for it. So grateful for you. I do pray that every person here didn't just hear a lesson and wasn't just fed with food, but they're moved to be transformed by the cross into your people, your students, your disciples, your followers, your missionaries, your givers, because you're totally the one to follow. Your non-selfish, your selfless example is such a high calling, but God, I'm so grateful for it, because I know that without it, we would just continue to reap gross evil upon this earth.
Wow.
So grateful that you have called us to be the example, to imitate you, to represent you as ambassadors. Help us to do it well, and to remember your great sacrifice at this time, and to be the living sacrifice that you call us to be. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.